Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we talk about death and grief? Picture this. You're sitting in a waiting room outside of a surgical unit. 3 hours in that room. 3 uncomfortable hours. And that room is like a trap. I know there are people in there with me, but I don't know that for a fact. I feel totally alone. The chairs are so uncomfortable, I have to stand up and move around a little bit. But that doesn't help either. So I sit back down and I pick up one of those dog-eared magazines, read all the way through it. 3 hours of this. Then I see the door open and the surgeon comes in his blue scrubs. And he sits down next to me and he says, "Mr. Petsel, we've done all we could on this. We operated, we removed the brain tumor, but the disappointing part of it is that this is the type that will probably recur. And if it does, and it comes back in an inoperable spot, your wife will have months to live." I sat there frozen, had no idea what to do, what to say, what to think. I leaned back in the chair and I said, what am I going to do now? I have no experience in this. I didn't take a class. I didn't read a book. I haven't talked to anybody about it. What do I do? As I was sitting there thinking about it, memories rushed through my head. All sorts of memories of the times that we've had together. This one particular memory was the one that kept coming back to me. It was a time that Sherman Watson and I were driving up and down Main Street, cruising. You all know what cruising is. We had a good time doing that in his 1951 Ford Coupe back in 1962. It was a beautiful evening. The stars were out. It was a little bit cooler than the hot day that we had had prior to that. And I had that little wing window open on the side, so I had nice fresh air blowing into my face. It was a wonderful evening. I turned around to Sherman. I said, "Sherman, are you hungry?" He says, "Are you kidding? 19 years old? We're always hungry, aren't we?" So I said, "Okay, let's drive into Wally's A&W and get something to eat." We pulled into the A&W as I was looking around, seeing the Corvette over there, a 57 Chevy over there, cars that I really love to look at. And we pulled in and parked. And the next thing I heard was, "Hi, Sherman, may I help you?" And I looked up and wow, there was this beautiful young lady, brunette, big hair, big smile to go with it, and soft voice, beautiful lady. I was so impressed and dumbfounded that I just stood there and stared. And I know she probably was sick going, "What's wrong with that guy?" She took Sherman's order, and then she looked over at me, and she said, "May I take your order?" And I looked back at her and I said, I thought it was maybe 5 seconds, but it seemed like 5 minutes that I waited before something came out of my mouth. And I said, "Well, I'll take a tenderloin sandwich and a root beer." "Fine, thank you." And she walked away. And I'm watching her all the way along like this. And then I turned to Sherman again. I said, "Sherman, will you introduce me?" And he said, "Well, of course." And when she came back, he did. And that was the beginning of a love affair. We had lots of good times together. We actually had 2 sons, and we worked with them as we went through the process of raising them. We loved to do walks. We loved to be together. We loved to share, and she especially loved to share. She loved to bake. She would take things over to the neighbors even, as much as she loved to share. Several months later, I'm back in a hospital room. This time I hear the beep, 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 beep. And I hear her raspy breathing. She had stopped eating several days before. and she wasn't drinking anymore, and she didn't take her meds. So we brought her to the hospital hoping that this would be the miracle that we're waiting for, that the doctors would find something this day and that they would be able to resolve the problem. We always had a positive attitude. We never really talked about how things were going to go bad, go sour. But unfortunately, she died in 1998. I was lost. I had no idea what to do. I didn't want to go home, but I had to. I went to a house, not a home. I pulled drawers open and I'd let memories just flood out at me. I didn't know what to do about the pictures. I wouldn't look at them. I'd just walk away and not look. I phoned people and they would have lots of nice things to say, but sometimes those things would hurt. I know they had good intentions, but God wanted another angel? No, I wanted her here. Or, time heals all wounds. Well, time will never help me forget all the good times we had together. Or, be strong. Yes, be strong. All I wanted to do was curl up in a ball and cry. But as I went on, I learned that I had to realize the reality of it. I had to figure out how to do laundry, how to cook, and all the things that go with it. I had to be myself and do that sort of thing. One thing I wanted to do was make meaning of her life, and the way to do that I found was to help serve dinner at a grief support system for children, a place called Journey of Hope Grief Support Center. When I was there, I realized that I might be able to help some of the people that are struggling with the same kind of process that I've gone through. And so I signed up to be a volunteer. And I've been volunteering for Journey of Hope as a group facilitator for adults for 10 years now. But you know, all along, I had no idea what was going on because I didn't really realize or never talked about what would happen, what the eventualities would be on pre-death and after death, and the grief that I had to deal with. I know there are books out there, but when you're grieving, you can't concentrate. You might read a page or two and then, I don't get it, and put the book down. And there are grief support groups, but for a man, if you go to a grief support group, generally you'll see all women. So a man would say, So my point tonight that I want to make is that we really need to talk about it. We need to talk about it, like Barb said in the beginning, with the children, and then also with our spouses. We need to talk about what direction we want to go. We want to talk about how to deal with the situation when it happens to us. So why don't we talk about it?